Welcome to the Exposed Street Podcast with Jared Bidney. I did not like that. Welcome to the Exposed Street Podcast with Jared Bidney. Today's episode, I got to go over some things concerning squatting and some questions again that I'm getting from the jump book and our dumbbell jumps. So anyway, here we go. This first question comes from Garden State Performance. Hey Jerry, quick question. First of all, love your stuff. Seeing great results with our kids utilizing your foam pad for box squat and your work with the percentages for the brief maximal tension method. But what I want to know is if you shift towards a more traditional west side conjugate of rotated 1 rep maxes of the classical lifts variations with your more experienced lifters, or do you continue to use brief maximal tension? Also, how often you deadlift your kids, and when you do, is it sumo or conventional? Garden State, we do not shift more towards a traditional west side. Our guys really don't get strong enough. It's just like in college or high school or whatever. I only have these kids limited for a certain number of years, then they move on. Once they get out of high school, they tend to go to college, and sometimes once they go to college, I may get them 1 or 2 months back in the summer, and that time that I get them back in the summer, I spend trying to get to where they were when they left me. A lot of them come back 2/10 of a second slower than 40-yard dash. Their vertical jumps are down, their bench press strength is down. So it takes me about 2 months to get them back, then we kind of go back to college and send them back to wherever they are. And you can be as low as a D2 or as high as a Power 5 school. And these kids all across the board, from 75 plus athletes, I've had to go off to, not 75 plus, 75 different schools or more. They tend to come back weaker and slower. The college strength conditioning coach is more concerned with getting them in and just rotating them through and boom, boom, boom. Hey, let's work. It's going to work. Hey, let's get work in today. They're not really concerned giving them 5 minutes between their squat sets. They're not concerned giving them 3 or 4 minutes between their bench sets. They're more concerned about getting them in and getting them out. They have a limited time. So they could do it if they were a little bit more organized, because I've done it. During COVID, I had my groups in and out within an hour. And if they had their schedule, they could probably do a little bit better, fit around a kid's college schedule. But no, we do not rotate. We always use a brief maximal tension just because I don't have for that very long. Even if I get them to squat 600, they're still using the brief maximal tension method, even up toward the 600-pound squat mark. If they were more advanced than that, you got to think when all this conjugate training and stuff, conjugate training, if you've listened to me in the other podcasts, is raising different levels of strength at the same time. You don't have to like the reason Louis, if you look in the first early 2000s when they were squatting, they may have done a 3 rep max, a 2 rep max, but as time went on, as those lifters became more and more advanced, you're talking 1,100 pound squatters, not these baby weights of 500 and 600 pounds. So the thing about the west side, and where I think people do not understand, they did rotate maximum effort method exercises with the more advanced, the later years, the mid 2015, or maybe even up to 12 to where we are now, as they rotated the heavy maximum once a week just to keep the stimulus, because they already knew how to bench. Once you have an advanced lifter, it's kind of like riding a bike. You'll always know how to bench. So benching more necessarily was not holding them back. It was learning how to strain, and like when they're doing the max effort method, it allows them to figure out where they're breaking down so that they can then go to their accessories and pump out their accessories. If you listen to Louis, it's 80% accessories and 20% barbell lifts. And so he talked a lot about single joint exercises. So maximum effort for them, and where this all popularized from was, let's do a maximum effort. Where's my weak points? Where am I breaking down? And let's go address that with all the accessory work. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is their accessories. I had a kid the other day, he was frustrated because his bench was getting stuck. And I told him, let's go max on your tricep press downs. And if you go to YouTube and watch how we do our tricep press downs, it's different. We don't let the elbow rotate out. We press it down. We try to focus on the medial head because that's what locks the bar out when you bench press. It also helps protect your shoulders. If your shoulder hurts when you bench, your tricep medial head is more likely weak. Your stress is going to go to your delts, which could cause shoulder pain. So if your shoulders are hurting, it's not because of the bench press, it's because your triceps are weak. But bench press is hurting your shoulders because your triceps are weak. So it's not necessarily I'm trying to say it's not necessarily the lift sometimes that's the issue, it's the weak points that are the issue, and that's what they are addressing at Westside. That's why they were rotating more and more often as they had more advanced lifters. And if you hear Louis, if you kind of go back, I don't think he didn't do the podcast early enough on to where it was at, but you'd have to find those VHS tapes. You'd have to go back and read the original Westside Barbell articles. And it may be in the Book of Methods. I've got the original Book of Methods to where it was just a comprised book of all the articles he'd written. It was didn't have a very good flow to it or whatever, but all the original articles are in that book, and you can read back and how it all started to where it evolved today. But where it evolved today is because the lifters were more advanced to where they didn't have to bench press as often. That was not their limiting factor. You know, like once we hit these squat speeds and these squat ratios, if you're squatting 1.8 times your body weight at 6 meters per second, and you're not at that 4.6, 4.5 range, squatting more is not your limiting factor. What is our limiting factor? Why? If you got 10 kids that are squatting 1.8 and they're running a low 4.6, high 4.5, and you're the one that's running a 4.7 and you're squatting the same thing, that's not your limiting factor. You know, it's kind of like your squatting is your base. So once you get to that about 1.9 times your body weight or 1.8 times your body weight and a squat at 6 meters per second, you have your dough. You've got your main thing. If we're making a pizza, you've got your main base done. Let's go get our cheese. Let's get our tomato sauce. Let's go get all the other extras that's going to go on it to give it more flavor. But if you don't have your base, you don't have anything to put your sauce on. You don't have anything to put your pepperonis on. You don't have anything, any substance to hold you together. And so, no, we don't rotate the exercises over just because the kids are not that advanced and they are so young still. You're talking in the teens. And so their ability to recover and recuperate from workout to workout is so high, we don't have to do that. And the ability for them to recover is just because they're younger, they can do a lot of stuff without having to do a whole lot. And so, and it's also the minimum effective dosage. I don't have to give them, we're training so frequently. We're there 3 days a week for the most part, most of them are, or we do have some athletes that come twice a week. I think coming twice a week is harder than the other ones that come every day, because once you get to a certain level, I'm gonna squat you 3 days a week and I wanna bench you 3 days a week. If not, if you're coming 3 days a week and you're not coming every day, you have to bench and you have to squat in the same day. I'm trying to drive up your upper body strength. I'm trying to drive up your lower body strength, and we're gonna jump. So I'm trying to drive the upper body strength up and the lower body strength up and the lower body rate of force development. I'm not really concerned about the upper body's rate of force development like I am lower body, because lower body is what we run, is where our running improvements and our jump improvements come from. So we don't have to rotate. We don't have to kill them with a lot of exercise. I had a guy call the other day about the jump book. He was looking for the latest, greatest exercises that we do. It's not, it's very, very simple. And Instagram and YouTube and all this social media has flooded and conditioned our brains to think a certain way and try to look for the next biggest thing, look for the next coolest exercise. There's nothing cool about training. Training is teaching the body how to perform. And it's like you have to keep continually to give it the stimulus. You can't eat good once a week and get great results. The more often you can do it, the better you can get. So I would not rotate them. I don't know if you're dealing with high school athletes. If you're dealing with advanced powerlifters, yeah, maybe. But I've had kids squat mid 600s, and USAPL, which is very strict guidelines as far as lifting, I've had them squat in the 600s by continually doing the same thing. I've had people squat triple body weight in competition. And our competition is just a belt, knee sleeves, no briefs, no squat suits, none of this extra supportive gear. So I had a kid squat 501 at 161 pounds. So it's, no, and as far as this deadlift, Louis even said, you don't have to, Bill Starr, and so many people, you necessarily don't have to deadlift to improve your deadlift. We do 45 hyper. We try to isolate our lower back and our hamstrings. If you've heard me talk about on some of the other podcasts before, if we do deadlift, which is not very often, we do, but it's not very often on the list. We may deadlift once every 2 months or something like that. We may do banded rack pulls. That may be our deadlift. We're not, and you're asking if we do sumo or conventional. I like for my athletes to pull conventional. A little bit more stress on the lower lumbar. But we don't deadlift heavy. We deadlift for the tension purposes. I told a kid yesterday, he's capable of doing 385 sets of 5. I said, just do 225, 2 or 3 sets of 8, and be done. Put enough tension on your back so it gets stimulated, then you move on. It's already getting beat up from our box squats. Why do I need to kill something that's already dead? You know, so it's just extra workload, a little bit more reps to hypertrophy the lower lumbar so that we can handle more stress with the squat. But you can do the same thing with the 45 hyper. You can do the same thing with a hyper extension. Sometimes we like to put a bar on our back. We load our 45 hypers and we load our hyper extensions. Some kids do the reverse hyper if they're feeling compressed, but a lot of kids don't like it. So I did have 2 reverse hypers, and I threw one to the 24 side because they don't have to necessarily decompress their spine like that. There's other things and other ways that we can kind of do that. So we don't deadlift very often. I think it's become more popular. You see a lot of these people do it. Louis said the best way to increase your deadlift is not to deadlift. It's in his stuff. Bill Starr said it. But they did work on their speed with their speed deadlifts. So it's kind of like they still deadlifted, but they didn't really have to maximally effort deadlift. You know, they may have been trying to move it with great intensity at a fast speed, but it's basically like what we're doing is creating tension in the lower lumbar without loading it very heavy or extreme. So Garden State, I hope that answered your question. This next question comes from Ronnie Baker. This is going to dwell into a good bit of how we do our dumbbell jumps. So I'm going to skip a lot of this, Ronnie, but I do want to answer in general for the most part. I was trying to take notes on how I was going to do it, but feel free to give me a call. Email me. If you have my number, call me. That's going to be the best way for me to go. I feel that I want to answer yours in private because this goes a lot into how the book's written for to helping the people out. And for those of you who bought the book, I don't want to give out all the information on the dumbbell jumps and how we necessarily do it. It's not fair for those that bought the book and believe in the gym. So anyway, first off, I greatly enjoyed all the insight and knowledge in the jump book. It definitely made me reevaluate some parts of my programming as well as confirming other parts. I've got a few questions regarding the dumbbell jumps as well as training in general. How many times a week are you dumbbell jumping? If I have someone that's coming to me 3 days a week, they're going to jump the dumbbells 3 days a week. If I have someone coming to me twice a week, they're going to dumbbell jump twice a week. If I have someone coming to me once a week, they're going to jump once a week. Do you ever work any jumps besides dumbbell jumps? No. We primarily, that's what I try to get at in the book is if you want to increase your bench press, you have to have load. If you want to increase your squat, you have to have load. If you want to increase your jumping ability, you have to somehow add load. It's kind of like once we reach a certain level, once we get to 38, 40-inch verticals, yes, then we have become that advanced 1,200-pound squatter to where we can then rotate the jumps more often. But like I've said on a lot of other podcasts, if I come in here, I bench one day. If I come in here, next time I floor press, next time I incline, next time I decline, next time I pin press, the next time I floor press or change, if I change that all the time like that, and I went back to bench, that's probably why a lot of the people's benches don't move. That's why sometimes their lifts are not moving. They're rotating too often. They are not advanced enough to get to that point. I mean, you got to talk about an elite squatter's triple body weight squatting triple body weight. And so if you, and that's just a regular squat. We're not even talking box squats. You know, if you've got to figure out where you are and quit overthinking. I told this kid, why the hell do you think so much? It's very, very simple, but sometimes kids get bored with doing simple stuff. But once we reach a certain level of dumbbell jumps, yeah, then we'll rotate. But if not, if I don't stick with my bench press, if I don't stick with my dumbbell jumps, if I don't stick with the same stupid box squat, it's going to take me longer to get from here to from point A to point B. So we just it's very simple. It references you can answer. Okay, you're jumping 3 days a week. Okay, for the weight selection, I can't answer that. Lastly, I know the box squat's your main focus. Do you ever incorporate any deadlifts, trap bar, sumo, or otherwise? Again, this kind of goes with the Garden State. Do we ever? Yes, but it's not done very often. Like, I think in the workout the other day, I said deadlift or rack pull. So I gave the kids a choice whether they wanted deadlift or rack pull. How much weight should I do? Told this one kid just do 135, told another kid do 225, and this other kid did 315, 3 sets of 6. The 315 was, one kid did trap bar, one kid did rack pull, one kid did traditional deadlift. But it's not, we're not maxing out on our deadlift. We are not doing brief maximal tension on our deadlift. We're doing more of the repetition, repeated effort method on our deadlift just to create some tension in the lower lumbar, because already, remember, we squat, we jump. You box squat, you jump. Your back's already taken a beating. So we will do something, whether it's 45 hyper, whether it's hyper extensions. People get so tired of doing that, then I'll throw deadlift or trap bar or rack pull in there, just so that a lot of kids, it's probably like people in this or listen to this podcast, think that you have to change it up all the time. No, you don't have to change it up all the time. I'm not changing your bench up all the time, so why do you want to change all this other stuff up all the time? You can, and I told this other kid, we'll do the same accessories the first 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks of the month, we'll do a different accessory, but targeting the same thing. So, trap bar, sumo, or otherwise. I don't know where the sumo stuff came in. I am a traditional deadlifter. The only reason, if I go to a powerlifting competition, is the only time we would, even some of the kids I've taken to powerlifting competition, we've never deadlifted. I had a kid deadlift triple body weight, never deadlifted that much in the gym, hardly ever. Remember, the accessories are what drives your stuff up. So if you're getting beat up from squatting, you can't go do brief maximum tension. You can't do maximum effort, lower back work, or you're going to be hurting, you're not going to recover. Because we are trying to do a few exercises and repeat those few exercises very frequently so that we can get a response from it, instead of like some of these bodybuilders, if you look, push pull day and all this other stupid crap I see on Instagram. I hate this bodybuilding crap getting confused with this powerlifting and a lot of stuff that's on TikTok and all this other stuff with what's popular. It's nuts. It's screwing up the thought process of the people who actually want to get better for sport performance. Oh, let's go do the Boshi ball split squat. No, that's stupid. You can't load it. You're doing an exercise that's not loaded properly, so you're not going to get better at it. And so, just like I didn't cover the kid. He was getting stuck as bench press. What, Joe? What can I do? What can I do? And so, I had him go max on his press downs. And when he went to max on his press downs, he maxed 120. And I said, "What have you been doing?" He said 50, 60. I just want to shake my head because a lot of people don't know how to push. And when you're not pushing your accessories, that's what's holding your main lift back. So I had a max. So then the minimum requirement to get stronger is 80%. So if you're Boshi ball squatting your body weight, if you're doing a wall sit, if you're doing all these other dumb things that are not loaded properly, if you're not using accessories that you can load and overload in order to where you can figure out where you are in order to figure out how to push your main lift, you're killing and wasting your time doing something stupid. What's the point in doing a hyper, a 45 hyper with no load? You can do, I told this kid, you have to fail with a certain number of reps. If you can do 50 reps, that's muscle endurance. That's not going to help anything doing for your strength. Although you're getting a lot of ton of reps in, you might as well be running miles to improve your sprint. It's stupid. You can't do that. And so the kid maxed, and he did not, and he was only using 50%. And they did studies years ago when these people were not improving. So a lot of people go to the gym, and they would put these people on accessories work, and they were doing a study. Most of the people, the average person, put 47% of their max on their accessories they were doing. And so I did it with some of my people at the gym. They were doing lat pull downs with 50, 60 pounds because they thought that was heavy. You know, that stupid feeling thing? If you get your damn feelings out of your head, there's no feelings. It's either yes or no. Is it heavy or is it not? Just because it feels heavy don't mean it is heavy. So I said, let's max on these. Let's see what we can do. A lot of them did 120, 130. So again, another in-person study at the gym, just like the kid on the tricep press downs. And I tell these kids the stories all the time, just as they were lifting 50% of their max. No wonder they weren't improving. You can do, like this kid, Jared, I think I'm doing push-ups every day to help my bench. The load is not heavy enough. You will work the muscle tissue, that is correct. But that's why we have rep rate. That's why the brief maximal tension is such a high percentage for around 4 reps or less. No more than 5. And so maximum effort, if you, brief maximum can be 1 to 3, up is max to 5. And that's why your repeated effort repetition method is 6+ reps. And a muscle endurance is 15 or 12+ reps. And so if you're hitting the muscle endurance and you're not targeting the tissue in order to give it the response it needs to in order to get stronger, again, you're just wasting your time. So Ronnie, I know I got off on a little rant there. Do we incorporate the deadlifts? Again, very, very rarely, and when we do, it's super light. I've deadlifted 600+ pounds, and I may do 315, 3 sets of 8. Just enough to use the repeated effort method for our lower back so that we don't continue to beat the crap out of it. Now, I did have kids, and if you've heard me on other podcasts, that have tried to push their squat and try to push their deadlift at the same time. He didn't believe me. These kids think, I said, Mother Nature is a bitch. You can't beat her. You cannot beat it. And so he did 4 or 5 on a box squat for 2 reps. He said, I'm gonna start pushing my deadlift. He wants his deadlift to be a certain level. Okay, well, after about 2.5 weeks, he couldn't even get 405 for 1. He struggled to get 385 on a squat. It's just too much, too often. You can't go squat one day. If you were squatting 3 days a week, you can't go squat, deadlift, then squat. That deadlift took away from those other squatting days, you know? So once you get to a certain level, if you want to deadlift instead of squat, yeah, once you reach your 40-inch vertical, yeah, you could probably deadlift instead of squat. But you've got to figure out the one thing you're going after. And if it's just to condition the kids, you're not going to get the speed and jumping results that you would want. So, Ronnie, feel free to call me on the other stuff, but hopefully I can answer that question on that. This is from Ricky. Jared, thank you. Saw this email in my spam after you hear a reply on me on the last podcast. Yes, if I think I emailed a lady who was wanting to bring her kids to the gym, and I emailed her, and I email a lot of people back a lot of times, and I don't ever hear from them because I think it goes through their spam because it's like, why did this person not respond? And I sent a kid an invoice the other day. He said, Jared, when you send the invoice? I sent it to you 3 days ago. I said, check your spam. So that's what made me start wondering how come my emails, even if someone sends me email and I hit reply, it still somehow goes through spam. I guess email system is not like the word explosive, so whatever. Now that I have the book, I'm very happy with it. It only took 6 days to land in the UK. Not too bad. Adding the dumbbell jump waves as of today, I cannot wait to see the results. I have a couple of questions, if that's okay. Ricky, I may have to email you back depending on what they are. I'm planning on jumping 3 days a week. Good. I heard you say numerous times that you look for an average reduction of a tenth of a second per month in a 40-yard dash. Yes, a lot of times I get 1/10 of a second off the 40-yard dash for my kids. For those of you not listen to the podcast, and we time everything complete laser to where there's no human error or falls with it. So what increases do you look for in the vertical? It seems like 2-inch increase at the start of the second wave. Yes. Are you able to provide some squat ratio numbers at 0.6 meters per second for the vertical? The ratios, the sprints are very interesting, and I like to have some goals in mind for my vertical training. For example, 1.4 times body weight at 6 meters per second equals to around 32-inch vertical. Ricky, I did bring some of these things up here. And some of these things right here are skewed, so I'm redoing a lot of these ratios because a lot of the kids were flipping and cheating the Tendo units. So I'm trying to hone in on more strict stuff so that when I am getting these ratios, I'm getting legitimate numbers with that. And you was asking, for example, 1.4 times body weight. Let's see if I have someone here at 1.4 times body weight. 1.43. He just started, so he jumped to 33.9. And well, you're close. 1.45, 1.4 for you was a 32. I'm assuming that's what you were doing. But I've even had a 1.33 reach a 40. 1.59 would be a 36. These numbers are all over the place. I had a 1.88 equal to 42, a 1.76 a 41, a 1.65 a 41, a 1.63 a 40, a 1.97 is a 45, 1.43, 39, another 1.7 is a 36.2, a 1.29 is a 33.5. So these numbers are all over the place. I had a kid with a 1.61 with a 40. So it seems to me, just by the thought process and not really clearing this stuff up, I think if you're around a 1.6 times your body weight, you're going to be very close to your 40-inch vertical. I had a kid squat the other day, 1.7, and he was 39.2, I want to believe. But he had a hard squat day, so hopefully we hit our 40 this week with around that same body weight at that 1.7 with a 40. So 1.6 to 1.7 times your body weight should get you close to the 40 as long as you're doing the dumbbell jump waves and everything else that you're supposed to. Remember, squatting is building our strength and our base. If you're box squatting, you're increasing your absolute strength and your rate of force development at the same time. And by doing the dumbbell jumps, you're also toning and sharpening that central nervous system even more so that it can show up. Remember, we can run, we can get faster at our 40 without running. And these are about 10 seconds off our 40-yard dash per month with little to no running at all. Your vertical jump will go up without jumping if your squat ratio goes up. But your jump will improve much quicker if you do the jumping skill itself with the squatting. If we ran a little bit more, and sometimes if I do have to get a kid ready to go off to college or go to a summer camp where he's going to time those 40, we will run 20-yard sprints. We will go squat, jump, 20-yard sprints. And we limit the sprints to 3, max of 4. And the kids want to keep doing more and more sprints. What that does is they don't ask me for more sets of squats. If I gave them 4 sets of squats, they're not asking me for 5. But they want to run more often. And I've had a lot of kids this past month, because I don't like to run, because if we run, they think they're improving their 40 because of the run. It just helps us, and then they don't want to squat. But now my people have learned they have to squat, jump, then they can run. But we don't run very much, maybe 3 to 4 sprints, if that. And we don't do that every week. So if they run 3 to 4, if they run more than that, their next workout, remember, we are frequently training. So if they did that Monday and they come in Wednesday, they're dead. Their squats are suffering greatly because they ran too much. You know, when you're running, that's load and that's stress too. It just feels a little differently than it does when it squats or when you're jumping. When you're running and you're jumping, you think you can do more and more and more, but you don't realize the damage you're putting on your recovery ability. So, lastly, for the box squats, what do you think about Cal Dietz thoughts on that you should be on the balls of your feet when jumping. We press through the balls of our feet when we jump. We have probably, I would say, about 80% front foot pressure, 20% back foot, or it could be 90-10. But we're not all the way up on the balls of our feet. I'm not sure. I've not heard Cal Dietz talk about that. But again, I don't listen to a lot of other people. I just kind of do what I do and get these questions from people. And when I answer questions based off what I do, I don't look at, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. No, I don't want to get bogged down with what everybody else is doing, because what I'm doing is working. And I just want to share the knowledge with everybody. So thank you once again. I'm loving the book. Great content. Look forward to hearing from you, Ricky. Ricky, thanks for the email. Allows these listeners to get all the information you want. I got to answer, do another podcast, hopefully tomorrow. I know I say this all the time, but there's shit that pops up that I got to do. Jared, this is from Josh. I just bought the jump book and excited for this book to come in. And he's thinking about moving from a high school coach to opening up his own facility. So he wants to go over the business side of that. I'll go over the business side of explosive mechanics, and I'll go over Dylan's question with his Excel spreadsheet in the next podcast. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope I helped some of you out. Feel free to email me, info@explosivemechanics. Don't send me stuff through Instagram. I had the hardest time reading. Had a kid at the gym. Jared, I sent you this. And I opened up my Instagram, and it was not in my stuff. And I even showed him. I said, look, where's it at? He said, well, I sent it to you. I said, well, I don't see it. I had a dad say, Jared, I sent you this at the gym. And it was actually talking about the deadlift stuff. And he said, this big guy, huge guy, said, you don't have to necessarily deadlift. I said, I know. And he said, yeah, I don't really deadlift a whole lot here either. I said, nope. So quit worrying about the deadlifts. Squat, jump, and you'll see your sprint results go out the roof. But everything must be timed. Everything must be tested. You got to monitor your numbers. Monitoring your numbers is, it's like, if you're not monitoring your numbers, it's like going to work without getting paid. What the hell's the point? So, Ricky and all the guys, thanks for the questions. I hope I helped you out. Feel free to reach me out, info@explosivemechanics. If you have reached out to me through email, I usually reply. Check your spam like Ricky did. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.